Hi, this is Jeff, and we're going to show you how we like to do the ends of grips with shrink tube today. Okay, what we have here is some PacBay shrink tube with a soft finish on it, and we have some foam arbors that have been turned into split grip shapes. So what we like to do is cut the tube to size, and you leave just enough overhang so it's going to cover the ends, like so. And we're going to go ahead and shrink the large end of this shrink tube, or this shape. Okay, so we've shrunk the tube onto the large end of this shape here, which has a small tenon on it, and the tube has shrunk down and left a little bit of slack right here. So on a larger piece like this, a good way to get that finished out nicer is to just heat it up. Always be careful you don't heat it up too much or you'll melt the core, whatever it's made out of. And then you press it on another piece of shrink tube. And by pressing it on another piece of shrink tube, you ensure that you don't glaze over the soft finish. It ends up staying soft finish because it's taking on the texture of this piece here. Give it about a 10 count. Nicely finished end of the tenon. So next we're going to shrink the small end of this grip right here. And a big problem that people have with shrink tube is that it only shrinks so far. It shrinks to about 55% of its original size. So what happens is you run out of shrink room basically, and we have a solution for that we'll show you here now. So the first thing you want to do is trim off excess. As you can see, I got a lot of excess here. A little bit more. You want to leave enough so it's covering the hole about halfway across with the tube, like so. Now I'm going to go ahead and shrink, and if we need to trim a little bit more later, we can do that. It's always better to trim less than more. So that's all I'm going to get there, it looks like. So the question is, well, what do I do now? It's so hard to finish out the end of this. To just push this down like that, it might not look that great. So what we like to do, while there's still some heat in that tube, take a rat tail file with a bastard cut, and you push it in. And the cut on these files is kind of a threaded pattern. So what it allows you to do is to push in the shrink tube like so, and then screw it out as if it were threaded in there. So again, I'm pushing it in. And once I get it pushed in about like so, what I'll do is I'll add a little bit more heat. Not too much. And then I'll push it a little bit further. And then you can pull it out by screwing the file back. And then push it in again. What we're trying to do is to take the wrinkles out of the end of this tube. Once you get that heated shrink tube stretched over the end with your file, just let it cool off for a minute. Okay, so our grips cooled off a little bit and we pulled the rat tail file out, and as you can see, we're very close to a nice finish. We've got a tiny wrinkle here and a tiny wrinkle there. Now if this went horribly wrong, all you got to do is hit it with the heat gun and the whole thing kind of opens up. You get to start all over, you get another chance. But if it's like this, where there's just a tiny bit of wrinkle here and here, what we can do is finish that out using the method we did earlier and applying just a little bit of heat here, not enough to make it completely unfold out of the bore. So we're just going to kiss it with some heat and then push. And as I was just giving it a little bit of heat there, I could start to see it kind of unfold, and that's about the sweet spot where you want to stop and go back to this step. And we'll see what we end up with here. Look at that. Nice and flat. Now, what you have is a bunch of slack that's pushed into the bore, and the way we get rid of that is with an X-Acto knife. And we just come in and we kind of push gently into the bore, and we cut around the edge of the ID carefully so you don't cut yourself up. So what you end up with after trimming the rest of the tag out with the X-Acto knife is a nice flat edge around the end and a hole that's roughed in. You might need to trim a little bit more after you ream it if you take some material out. But after that, it's ready to accept any variety of winding check or thread ramp, etc. So that's how we do it here at PacBay, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks.